And hey. It is your life detox coach, Suzanne Stroud, also known as Miss Straight Talk, No Sugar Added, none added at all. Um, I'm gonna take y'all back. I'm gonna take some of y'all way back, and for some of us, we remember this, and it was a real good, it was a real cool fad because it helped us to kind of keep in mind and remember our actions and the words that we speak and the things that we would do. Remember, what would Jesus do? WWJD. What happened to that era? What happened to that era? And I say era because era means that things come and go. It means that it's a popularity thing. It's a fad and it's something that people are into at the moment. But what would Jesus do is something that we should be doing all the time. And this was back in 1990, for those of you who have no idea when this took place. There were little bracelets, there were shirts, there were license plates, it was everything. It was fire because people really wanted to exercise what Jesus did. They wanted to do the right thing. And now it just seems like people don't want to do the right thing anymore. They don't want to say the right thing. They don't want to do truth. They want to entertain. Everything's about entertaining. I had to pull myself off of one of my social media platforms because I really like the people that I follow, but sometimes it just gets to be exhausting to just watch people just eviscerate, if that's the right word. People just want to tear people down. They want to tear them up. They don't want to build them up. I get it. We're going to disagree, and sometimes we will agree. But just because I don't agree with who you are or how you are or what you stand for still doesn't mean that I don't want the best for you. And I think we've gotten away from that. We should still want the best for one another regardless. And it just seems to be so much back and forth. And everyone, and wait a minute, let me go back to that when I said just because I dislike something who someone is or what they do or maybe what they stand for doesn't mean that I don't want the best for them. I'm not a pet lover, not a pet lover at all. Not to say that I go around kicking dogs and cats, but if I see something getting ready to happen, an animal, a squirrel, a cat, a bird, anybody, any one of those things, headed for danger or something ready to happen, my heart goes out to them because they are still a living creature. Um, I may not want to be in the presence all the time, but they're still a living creature, and I should want the best for them because at the end of the day, all things created belong to God. And so I had a note here. Yes, yeah, it was something when I go along, when I said about, people don't want the truth, they just want to entertain. Um, I'm just so over, and this is why I had to kind of pull myself from off of, one of my social media platforms because people are wanting to use fear and divisiveness to draw you over to their side. And when we go back to what would Jesus do, and especially these are people that I believe call themselves Christians, they're Christ followers, but is that a representation of Christ? Is that what you're trying to spew at me, and where you're trying to get me to be divisive? Is that what God would want? It is not. I mean, I believe that that is not what he wants. I believe that he wants change and he wants order. But everybody that's out here saying the things that they're saying, those people, they may not have been called by him to bring that particular change. I think that you should be able to inform people, tell them the information without making your specific opinion, trying to make yours their opinion. So I had to step back. I still follow the pages, but I had to kind of step back because I'm like, you know what? Why would you? And it's all about instilling fear because as long as people can instill fear in you, then it's always the draw. It's the draw to get you to keep coming back. And if they're tearing other people down, if they're name calling, if they're doing all that, that's how to get the likes and the clicks. Let me just share this. For every person that I follow, on social media, and I look at their stories and I look at their commentary, and some of it's really good and some of it's really thought provoking. At the end of the day, people are just making money off of our fear, our concern, our leaning into their stories, always, going to check to see what the bell says. And circling back, all of this comes down to boundaries. I've been talking about boundaries and self-care. There are boundaries. So even though we need to have boundaries with the people in our lives, We need to have boundaries with the things outside of our lives that we allow to enter in. How much of that will I allow to enter into my space? How much of that will I allow to live rent free in my mind and in my heart and in my spirit? Because at the end of the day, I don't want to miss the mark. And all of this stuff that's out here that's vying for our attention, it causes us to get distracted and it causes us to miss the mark. So I want to say this, you know, as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, and if that's who you are, if that's not who you are, then this really doesn't apply. If your heart is of stone and it's gotten so dark and black that you can't allow this to penetrate, it is my prayer that it does penetrate. But for those who are open to hear, when we look through the lens of God's love, when we look through the lens of God's eyes, we're able to extend grace to other people, because we forget when we're pointing the finger at others, we're forgetting the grace that has been extended to us. So why aren't we extending grace to others? And so my boundaries when it comes to those external forces, I determine how much of that I am going to allow in. I make room for the direction that God would have me to go. Because at the end of the day, he's still in control and he is orchestrating everything. He can use whoever he wants to bring forth whatever he wants. So that's where I stand. So I choose to give the same grace and the mercy and the favor that is extended to me. So what did I say? What would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? Ask yourself, when we're watching things and we're reading things and someone's talking to us, what would Jesus tune into? What would Jesus respond? Because everything was always about making people whole. And if the things that we're doing aren't making people whole, then what are we doing? What is the purpose? And so, yeah, it kind of bothered me a couple of days ago. I was like, you know what? Let me just shut this social media thing down for a little bit and get my thoughts right and not kind of take, because all of that is energy. It's other people's energy. It's other people's hate. It's other people's discord. It's other people's decision and insight that they're pouring and heaping on your head and heaping through your social media platform. So that's a boundary as well. So when I talk about self-care and talk about boundaries, it's not just with the physical people that's in our lives. It's also about the other things that we allow to enter into our lives. So I ask you again, what would Jesus do? And I would challenge you to keep that on the tip of your tongue and on the edge of your thoughts. If this is Christ-like, if this is what God would want. See, we seem to think we know what God wants. Well, I know God wants it. Well, okay, maybe he does. And it may not be a doubt, but the way that it's coming, I don't know if that's of him, because yeah. So that's my position. So hey, like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you next time that we decide to pop on in here for a Let's Talk Life Detox chat with your girl, Miss Straight Talk, no sugar added. Take care. Bye-bye.